Hey, Connecticut, listen carefully, because there is a fox in charge of the hen house, and there's plenty of evidence that he is a carnivore. If you watch this interview with Scott Bates...
Continuing our conversation about Election Day with Deputy Secretary of the State Scott Bates. He's here to talk about the actual voting process on Tuesday. So our reporters have been covering this for months, but your office's preparations obviously had to start even before that. What does it take to gear up for Election Day, and what's happening in these last couple days before?
Yeah, so there are thousands of your friends and neighbors across Connecticut working right now to make sure Election Day goes well. In each town, in all 169, there's a Republican and a Democrat registrar of voters, and they make sure that...
We gathered signatures to get on the Blumenthal race in every single town in Connecticut, 57,962. We just went through the process again for the Murphy race. Now, he works for Murphy.
That the lists are good. They make sure that everybody knows where and when to vote. You have your town clerks who are processing, as we speak, absentee ballot.
He stole every ID, every IP address of every town clerk and every registrar. And he used them to manipulate the vote, and then they manipulated the vote nationwide.
Requests. Then on Election Day, you have poll workers who are people from your community that'll be there to help you on election.
Poll workers who he coached. They would not let me in Columbus Magnet School to vote, let alone they coached every town clerk. After I gave him my ballot information, then I gave him the write-in ballot information. He sent me the contract. It's right over there. I filled it out. I sent it back to them. I confirmed their receipt. He went to every town clerk and said, do not accept a vote for John Flynn, me. Okay? How do I know? Because they called me.
Election Day, if you have questions, they're manning the polls from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Election Day. And you have moderators who make sure, and they're chosen by the Republican and Democrats together.
And in the vote that he's talking about, 39 of them, 39 towns took Zuckerberg bribes. And this is where the Jeters come in.
To make sure that everything in the polling place is as it should be.
Tell me about if someone wakes up on Election Day and says, geez, I want to vote, I'm not registered, they can still do that.
They can. So there's Election Day registration in Connecticut. But you do need to check, is that at your...
There's poll pads, okay? They have an electronic book tied to the registrar, tied to the central tabulators. They can add you as a voter that morning. You can vote with a ShopRite card as an ID, which is no ID at all. There are no signature requirements. They don't verify signatures. So people can go from town to town, sign up, and they could be fake. There's no checking of... They don't verify signatures, is what I'm saying.
Town hall, or sometimes it's at a polling place, but only if your town is small usually. So usually that's done at the town hall. But you can register on Election Day if you've just spaced it and you've forgotten to do it, as some people do. Don't give up. Figure out from your local officials where you can do your Election Day registration.
And if you want to find out if you're registered, here we are 2 days out. There's a website you can go to check that out.
That's right, myvote.ct.gov. That's our website. And we have a voter lookup tool to see if you're registered. You can also call your local registrar of voters, or, you know, most of them are on the web too. So Connecticut's elections are administered locally in each of your, 169 towns.
They have No Ink, which allows them for a fee to change your vote up to 60 days later.
You can go to your local officials, but you can also go to us for help too.
In addition to all the candidates that we've been talking about, and in many cases seeing ads for over these last weeks and months, there's this ballot question about early voting. Yeah. Explain, as people see that question come up and they make their decision on it, what does that actually mean?
Yeah, so the Connecticut legislature voted twice now to put on the ballot for people to decide, do you want to vote early? In other words, in 46 states around this country, you can vote before Election Day. That allows you to have options as to scheduling when you're going to go, and it makes it more convenient. 98% of the American people can vote early. Connecticut's a kind of weird outlier, to be honest. And so now, but it's embedded in our Constitution. So the question is, shall the legislature decide, on early voting? And then if people say yes, then there'll be a debate in the next legislative session. In Texas, where I used to live and work, they vote up to 14 days out. You have that option. States where a legislature can decide that kind of thing, and people can adjust. They can say, yeah, we want to vote 2 weeks in advance, or maybe they just say a few days, and that can be changed every few years, but it gives people the ability to not have to stand in line. They can vote in advance of Election Day.
Scott, we've heard so much talk over the last 2 years for sure, and even before that, about election security and people tampering with votes and tampering with vote counting machines. Is there anything to worry about in Connecticut, and what's being done to address that issue here?
Yeah, we've been working on this for years, and the really good news...
They've been working on it since 2006 when they started. Now they're a fine-tuned voting hacking Gestapo.
Is we have secure systems from...
They don't have secure systems. I can access them with any thumb drive. I can access them with any phone. Okay? Period. Now, listen carefully.
How to register to vote, because the Russians were pinging our system here about 6 years.
Now it's Iran, okay? Now Iran is. So it's secure. Russia hacked the network, and we're not on a network. Listen to the guy.
Years ago, and others around the country, but we partner with the Department of Homeland Security nationally.
He works for the Department of Homeland Security, okay? And he's Deputy Secretary of Elections, okay? So at the same time that he's in Turkey 10 times, Iraq, Syria, Jordan, okay, he's all over the place. The servers are in Iran. One of the servers is in Iran that Connecticut is attached to through CITL. Watch. He doesn't talk about certain things, but there is proven data all over the place. It's now saved on the internet, and you can pull it down. It's hidden on the internet.
And make sure that we're in good shape, and we are, and we have a great state cybersecurity infrastructure. And also,
yes,
we make sure that...
So while he's maintaining that Iran and Russia hacked the network, how did they do that if they're not connected to the internet? Because GEMS is connected to the internet. It has 4 central tabulators. It has 4 centralized tabulators and one at Yukon, where they do the audit, which only 40% of the towns participated in. So how can they certify an election if only 40% of the towns complied?
The polling places are safe and secure as well. Those moderators are in charge. They're in touch with local law enforcement.
They use the police departments in the towns where they got the Zuckerbucks. So Norwalk, my town, got 51,000.
To make sure that if there's any disruption, they have the ability to remove folks. And then
Yes, they prevent you from voting, as they did me.
The counting is done in a way where Republicans and Democrats...
The counting is done in Barcelona, Spain, by CITL, which there are connections to LHS, which is Dominion software, which is Diebold. Diebold has built-in Wi-Fi.
Can work together to make sure everything's on the up and up, and our office conducts post-election audits as well. So
no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
We have a system in Connecticut that works, and
yes, the system is this: they collect the ballots and destroy them. They destroy the cast vote record and the memory cards for the tabulators. That's a fact, Jack. They rewrite over the old ones.
Unlike some places in this country, we have a culture of civility.
No, they don't. They blocked my phone over a year ago. I'm a candidate. I did the signature part. I gave him 57,000 signatures. He rejected them. We have video of them rejecting the signatures, talking to the voters on the phone. Hello, are you Scott Bates? No answer, okay? Are you Ted Bromley? Oh, Ted, what's wrong with my signature? I'm on the phone. It's me. Oh, no, that's God knows what the answer is. There's destruction of the evidence as they go. And the state police is completely aware as their protection racket. Thomas Gorman is protecting Scott Bates.
Where people give the benefit of their doubt for their friends and neighbors, and so far so good.
Benefit of the doubt.
Just so people understand sort of the inner workings of it, I go to my polling place, I fill in the little bubbles for who I want to vote for, I put it in a machine, it gets sucked in. If there is some discrepancy later, is that piece of paper still there? Is somebody able to say this pile's for this guy and this pile's for that guy?
Yeah, we have a paper trail. It's important for folks.
No, they don't. They don't have a paper trail because I subpoenaed them many, many, many times. We have over 80 or 90 subpoenas out. No one complied because he doesn't let them answer the federal subpoena.
Folks to know that those machines are not hooked up to the internet.
Lie. Let's play that back.
Yeah, we have a paper trail. It's important for folks to
they're
know
not
that
connected
those machines
to the internet.
are not hooked up
That
to
is
the
a
internet.
bold-faced lie.
They stand alone. That there's a paper record of that that records that ballot as well, and that's why we just haven't had any kind of problems here in Connecticut.
What will happen once the polls close? 8 o'clock, of course, on Tuesday, the polls close down. What's the process after that?
You heard him say it's not connected to the internet. That is what he tells everyone while they're manipulating the data after it's scanned.
To kind of start to put out the word of who the winners are.
Yeah, so you should probably go to your, if you really want the election result.
If you want the election results, he's using 4 algorithms. He's working with Edison Research to determine who the winner is now, prior to the election, and what quantity of the vote in a percentage terms are going to the Republicans. So the Republicans get 46%, and the Democrats get 54%. And he can't handle multiple third-party candidates because the algorithm would split the vote and it would say 224 and a half votes. So the guy has a problem, and he's a huge liar.
You can go to our website. You can go to myvote.ct.gov or the Secretary of the State's office or your...
They took a cyber grant. Okay? Why? Because it's connected to the internet, Ted and Scott.
Local authorities will also have that too. It takes a little bit of a while to count, and we want to counting the absentee ballots that might come in on election day. Some people might drop them in the drop box. You can drop them in till 8 p.m. on election night. So if you're sitting on your absentee ballot, which I am right now.
So they audit the absentee ballot, they audit the electronic ballot, the scanned documents, and the new voters on that day. There's a 3-part audit, and only 40% of the towns even bother.
You have until 8 p.m. on election night to drop it in, but that takes time to count that on election night. So, you know, most states it takes several days.
Well, let me just say, I think George Logan won. I think Margaret Stryker won. I think Leslie DeNardis won. There's a 50-50 shot that Stefanowski won governorship, okay? Because it's impossible, if you graph the votes, to have the outcomes changed drastically between 2 and 2:30 in the morning after the Republicans go home and the Democrats stay to count the votes.
Connecticut, we'll just see how we go, but we rely on the 169 towns to do their counting. They do it well. They've gotten through the pandemic election, which presented all kind of trouble, without any trouble. They did it. They got it done, and we're confident it'll happen again.
Only a few seconds left. I just want to ask this. We saw so many absentee ballot requests during COVID.
Well, anyway, if you go back and read what he's done, like documents he puts out, look, this is a document he wrote. Okay. Growing and gathering danger, shadowing American democracy, our cyber activities. Here we go. In Connecticut, the only way the state could defend itself from aggressive acts of major powers targeting its election system, he wrote a document about the threat of foreign countries hacking the system that's not connected to the internet. Oh no, it's not connected to the internet. And then if you read all the data, authoritarian regimes have tested tactics against American election systems. ES&S, LHS, poll pads, poll books, knowing, gems, and the rest of them. And there's plenty. So when you look at what happened in Michigan, Connecticut hacked Michigan. Connecticut hacked Wisconsin. The times are there. The IP addresses are there. Tyler Technologies' IP address is involved in the hack in every town in Connecticut. They took the IP address of the town clerks and they published them. So people had access to the back doors that they set up through Serbian programmers. So we have all the documents. We gave them in a brief to more than 8 judges, and Judge Bright has committed treason twice. Here we go. Secretary of State Merrill's plan to protect the integrity is through CISA. And I'll tell you right now, the documents are all about the lies. Malicious foreign actors have demonstrated across several election cycles their ability to use social media to influence. Yeah, that would be Chris Murphy, his Department of Homeland Security budget, who employs Scott Bates. Scott Bates is advertising. What Scott Bates is doing is violating the Logan Act, getting on a plane, not being registered as a foreign agent, going to Turkey every month. Why? Going to all the countries he's bragging about that he's going to. That's illegal, folks. That's illegal. So if we get into the deep nitty-gritty, here, they do it. It's low-cost, high-impact strategy for major powers to destabilize America. That's what his job is, destabilizing America. National leadership, partnerships. Oh, partnerships. This is grand. Do you know how many partnerships Connecticut has? Gartner Group hacked Arizona, Pima County, and Maricopa County. And not only that, they have access, full access to Arizona's information. They are paid by Arizona. Lamont paid Gartner Group $1 million. What for? Bart Stanko, what's he doing in this equation? There are people, trusted people. Here, Scott Bates was a senior policy advisor for the U.S. House of Representatives Homeland Security Committee. He currently serves as Connecticut's Deputy Secretary of State. I filled out the write-in candidate information. I sent it to Scott Bates. Scott Bates got it. Scott Bates mailed it to me. There's piles and piles of documents from Scott Bates to me. I'm pretty sure, well, he never called me back. And that right now, you can't get through to the Secretary of State. They don't connect you. They have third parties blocking you. So I'm running for U.S. Senate. I'm not allowed in the Secretary of State's building, folks. I'm on a list. I get surrounded by the security guards and the state troopers. And then I speak to them. And then I say to the state troopers, please arrest these people for election interference, because that's exactly what they're doing. And the newest candidate that needs to be arrested, her name is Taffy Womack. You need to arrest her. She is manipulating the rules. They have separate rules for themselves, folks. And I can keep highlighting things. This is probably long enough for now. But you can see Scott Bates is lying because poll pads and poll books is connected to the internet. GEMS is connected. The software is hackable and the hardware. And any phone can hack Connecticut. Any phone. So here we go. The software is built into the phones, folks. It's called Pegasus. You should look at it. It's complicated. And unfortunately, even my own registrar, Brian, Smith, he says to me, Johnny, you're wrong. The machines are not connected to the internet. I say, you're out of your mind. Here's the contract. Inside it, it says, in the hands of a bad actor, this system can be electronically hacked and the votes can be switched, candidates can be zeroed out, and that's exactly what they did to me. I asked the people who voted for me to take a picture of every ballot. They did. They sent them to me. I have them, and I got 0 votes after people took pictures of their votes, and I gave them to the appellate court. And Judge Bright ruled, and his ruling is treason. Judge Bright ruled on his own habeas corpus the first time. Now he's about to rule on his second habeas corpus. That's a felony, folks, okay? When you send the judge pictures of votes and you have 0 votes, that's proof in of itself that Scott Bates is a traitor, because he certainly is. Have a great day. Thanks for listening.